What are some of the things that we need to get squarely straight about before we actually begin to rent up someone's property?
Well, first off, most of us tend to see things, fall in love with things with our eyes. But we need to look into our pockets first. We need to confirm financially what can we really handle. And I always recommend that in terms of your rental rate, it should be your annual salary should be about 30 times your rental rate. So if you make about 30,000 a year, don't be looking for anything over $1,000. Don't do it. Because you have to think about other financial responsibilities. Remember, at the beginning, you have to put down the equivalent of 1 month rent as a security deposit and also the first month's rent. And there are going to be some responsibilities that you have thereafter financially, including, transferring any utilities into your name, buying any furniture if you choose an unfurnished option, and just getting that place ready for you. So financially sit down and work out what can you handle first and foremost.
Right, there's some financial outlay up front, before you actually move into your rental. As you just said, your deposit and all of the transfer costs for other utilities as well. So that you need to get very, very straight. But I'm searching now. So in searching, I'm not just looking at the dollar value alone. I'm also looking at whether it meets the particular need, whether I'm a large family, small family, single, what it is. So help me on that one.
Yes. So remember, this is your home. So you want to make sure that it meets your creature comforts. Start off with the basics. How long is it going to take to commute back and forth to work? Or even if I want to take little Johnny by Grand, how long is that going to take? Make sure you're in a location that is able to meet all of your needs comfortably. If you know that you have 1 or 2 vehicles between you and your spouse or family, is this location going to have enough parking? Do we need a house instead of an apartment? Do we have that kind of family that we want space? So all those parameters, think out first before you just go hunting. And simple things like, do you want unfurnished, as we've spoken about already? You have your own furniture. Do you want semi-furnished, where you have furniture, but you don't have appliances and you're not spending that money right now? Or do you want fully furnished? Do you want to pick up your bag and just move into a turnkey property and be reminded that fully furnished, of course, is going to incur the highest rent comparably to unfurnished and semi-furnished properties of the same size?
And you got to be, I suppose, be cautious about panic renting too. The relationship just broke up. You know what? I'm out of here. And so I'm moving into that. And you make some strange decisions, then you have regret. So when should I really start searching to move into a rental property? Is there a timeline, a time frame?
Yes, so it's comfortable for you. I always recommend about 6 to 8 weeks prior to your preferred start date. Why that timeline? Because it lets you know kind of which properties are on the market that you can play with. If you start too early, if you talk about, I get ready, I searching from 3 months out, well, guess what? You're not ready to put down money from 3 months out, and that house is going to disappear and your feelings are going to be hurt.
For any first-time renter, though, what's involved in the application process? What can you share with us?
Okay, so for example, the service that I provide, I like to sleep good at night as an agent. So you have to do everything as a tenant but give me blood and a stool sample because I am digging into your history. So I will ask you for things like, give me 2 professional references that I can contact and speak to them directly and get to know if you're a sweet potato thief or a serial killer. I will also ask for your previous landlord's reference. And sometimes what I do, I let the current landlord, the apartment or house that you're planning to take up, speak directly to the past landlord so he or she can hear it straight from their mouth, any concerns or issues that they had with Billy Bob. Did he pay the rent on time? Was he always into loud music? Did he, it's good to hear these issues up front. Also, in terms of the application, you will need to show some sort of security. Security in the sense of, do you have a job?
Yes.
If you have a job, let us have a job letter so that we can see that you've been there for the last 4 years and that you make $2,000 a month or whatever. There needs to be some proof of your income. Gone are the days when you just show up and tell a landlord, I got money, and the landlord takes you in. So as a tenant, you need to come knowing that you're exposing yourself a little bit sometimes in declaring what you make, and you ask that it be confidential. Even things like if you are self-employed. Self-employed people have been finding it challenging recently because they can't pull out a job letter per se. But in that instance, sometimes we ask for, give us a bank letter showing that you have 6 months rent on the account, or even an accountant's reference.
What should be allowed when, and really when I'm about to move in? What are some of the things as a tenant I need to be mindful of so I'm allowed to move in?
Sure. Well, we worked out that you make sure you have your deposits in order. But then in terms like transferring the utilities, we know that in terms of the internet and phone service, for example, try to give yourself a 3-week period, a head start in terms of getting your application in and so forth. So when you transition to that property, we know internet is important to us.
Yes.
You want to make sure it is up and functional. Yes. In terms of the electricity, I think there's normally a $23 charge if you are a local. There may be a $500 deposit if you're not from here. Make sure you get the electricity switched over in a timely fashion. And that just involves a landlord filling out a light and power form that you take to the electricity company with your dollars and get it switched over. Water should always remain in the landlord's name. That's how the landlord protects their interest, but the bills might come to the house for your attention, or the water may be included in the rent based on what arrangement has been made. So you make sure that you get those things in order on moving in.
And should that be documented? All of that you just described.
Yes. So a thorough lease should pretty much have in that utilities are at the lessee's or the tenant's account. Water is included in the rent. Those things should be in the actual documentation. And also the things that you want to ensure as a tenant that are in your lease are even simple things like in reference to landlord visits to the property. You don't want your landlord turn up inside. I come and see what's going on. I ain't seeing what you just said. No. You want him to give you 24 to 48 hours notice, right? So you put that in the lease, or you ensure at least that it is there, so that if he comes by to inspect the property, which he or she is allowed to do, at least that has been agreed on. You need to make sure the boundaries are clear between you two.
I like one of the points of going through an inventory list, whether it's furnished or unfurnished, so that you are not held liable as a tenant for things that you did not, problems that you did not create, and vice versa for the landlord, that you are able to say, I am going to hold you responsible for the damage I see here too.
Yes. Now this pertains particularly to semi-furnished. Remember, semi-furnished properties have kitchen appliances and laundry appliances, and furnished properties. Furnished properties may sometimes even have everything down to linen, cutlery, and crockery, but all furniture, washing machine, and so forth. It is best as a tenant, because you want to protect your interest too, that if the landlord is going through an inventory with you, they would have a list of the items, and they might have next to it a column where you tick good, fair, scratches, or you write down any comments. I recommend as a tenant, take some pictures. If you know that vase has a big able nick in it at the start of tenancy, take a picture and keep it on your little computer, so that at the end when Polly Sue, the landlord, is accusing you of damaging her vase, you can say, Exhibit A, photo from 2019, shows that there was a nick here of 2 inches.
So true.
So that's how you ensure that you are not being held accountable at the end of tenancy and being told you ain't getting back your full security deposit because of these damages.
There's so many things that one should take into consideration when taking up tenancy.